Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to be putting together the first of my projects using the stamp sets that were released with the 2021 Feature Craft release this month. If you haven't seen my unboxing of the stamp sets, there were 7 in total, plus my project planning using those stamp sets, I will make sure to link that video up at the eye for you, where you can go and check that out if you would like. For today's project, I am going to be putting together a spread that is basically going to be a summer bucket list for 2021. So for this summer, I ordered a bunch of these little glassine bags, I want to say like 2 years ago, and I just have a whole bunch of them sitting in a pile. I thought this would be a really fun way to use up a whole bunch of them by adding them on top of a 12 by 12 spread and then using the stamp sets to create the embellishments for on top that designate what each of these items is. So when we complete our bucket list activity, I will take some photos and then do a little bit of journaling and add that into the pockets where the where that specific activity is designated, which will make a little bit more sense as I get to work on this spread. So what I will be using today, I have these little glassine bags, and these measure roughly 2 inches wide by about 3.5 inches tall. I'm planning to cut off this top portion and then just add a little section where you can grab the products out of it with a circle punch. We'll see how that goes. I also have a small piece of 4x6 piece of white textured cardstock, in addition to the Apollo Lower Alpha and the Lower Alpha outline, which I will use to make my title. These are also from Feature Craft. And for those, I'm going to use my paper person inks. I've got the pumpkin spice and goldenrod here that I'm going to use to create my title. I've also, I will be using 2 of the stamp sets for this project, the Summer Sunshine and the Stay Wild. Those are the 2 main stamp sets. And then I just have a variety of other products. So some puffy stickers, some pattern paper, a couple of circle punches, and then my background is going to be on this Vicky Bouton color study pattern paper. This one is called Inspired, which I super love. It's a bunch of circles, and I love the way that it looks through the vellum glassine bags here as well. So what I'll do is go ahead, put you on fast forward, and get to work putting this spread together. And then once everything is done, we'll slow back down and close out for today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, you guys, so getting started with our spread for today, I do want to, like, full disclosure right up front, let you know that this spread is extremely tedious and time consuming. However, it turns out really awesome in the end. So if this is an idea of something that you would like to repeat, I definitely think that this is going to be a super fun, not only a super fun spread, but also a really great encouragement to our family to get out and do some fun stuff this summer. So to get started for today, what I'm going to do is grab over this 4x6 piece of textured white cardstock. I am loving using textured white cardstock lately. I love that it has kind of a grainy feel to it and look to it, and that when you stamp on top of it, it's not necessarily perfect. I think that that looks really cool. So I am going to use 2 of my ink pads from Paper Person. The first one is Goldenrod. It's this yellow that you see here, and that is what I'm going to use to stamp the filled in version of my Apollo Lower Alpha. Then for the outline portion, I'm going to use the orange, which is pumpkin spice. I love the combination of yellow and orange. Something about it just seems so summery, and they are 2 of my all-time favorite colors. So it just made a whole lot of sense to go with the 2 of those. Now, one thing I will mention is, even though I tried really hard to get the title there in the middle of the card, it is definitely left skewed. So what I will do to fix that is I'm actually going to take that card to the side later and fussy cut all of those letters out, and then I will tape them down on top of a new piece of textured white cardstock, and then that is what I will put into the middle of my spread. So that made it even more tedious than it needed to be, but I just I was really bothered by the fact that it wasn't in the middle, it wasn't centered, especially since, that's going to be the focal point of this entire spread. Once I had my title stamped and ready to go, the next thing I am going to work on is getting all of my bucket list, quote unquote, stamps stamped out onto some white matte sticker paper. This is a really great option for stamping things like this, where you're going to use them as an embellishment or as a sticker on top of something else. It makes it so you don't have to fussy cut it a million times. You only have to do it the once, and then it already has adhesive on the back of it. So I went ahead and I stamped out a whole bunch of them. I even did a couple additional ones just so I could play around with some different to-do items, so to say. Then I took my little envelopes there. So these are those little glassine bags that are tiny. And I chopped off the top portion that looked almost like a tag. So that was the section that, like, if you were actually using it as a bag, you could add adhesive and fold it down and it would, stay closed. For me, I don't really care about that. So I cut that part off. I tried to see if I could use my circle punch there to create like a section where you would easily be able to pull stuff out of the bags, because now they're harder to get into since I chopped off the extra portion, but it doesn't work. So the circle punch doesn't really work on this type of material. So I'll come up with a different solution later, and I'll show you what that is as we get to that part. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and break all of these pieces apart here, and then I will show you guys, like, hey, I'm going to go fussy cut these at the side here in a little bit, and then we'll get the rest of that ready to go. And then for the middle there, that's where I cut out an additional piece of that plain white cardstock so that when I fussy cut those letters out, it's going to go nicely. For the next portion, I'm going to go ahead and punch a couple of things out. I'm going to trim some stuff out just so I can make sure that I've got all of my little envelopes or my little baggies here covered. I didn't want to go to the side and cut everything out only to find that I needed one more of something or whatnot. And then it also helps me to know, which pieces go where necessarily, because I actually end up with more than I need. So for some of them, I considered adding, 2 layered up or something of that matter. Then I went to the side, went and got everything fussy cut out, watched a TV show while I did that. That's one of the only times that I really watched TV, is when I'm fussy cutting or backing cut files. So it's kind of a treat for me. And then I came back and we're going to go ahead and start getting some things assembled here. So here is the solution I came up with for these bags. So what I did is I created a little corner template with an extra glassine bag that I will end up tossing out later. And then I'm going to use that corner piece to create marks on the bags themselves with a slick writer pen. That way it won't smear on the bag. So I'm doing a dot right at the top of the bag and then all the way down at the bottom of the point. Once I have that done, I can grab over some of my scissors. I'm going to use these Tim Holtz ones, and I'm basically going to cut from point to point. So then I've got this little slit that's going down the middle of the bags. Then once I have the slits cut into all of the bags, what I will do next is take those corners and fold them from the inside, so where the slit is, the top of the corner down to the side of the bag, which will make much more sense when I do it right here. So I'm going to fold down the corners, and then I'm going to use those crease lines to create cuts, and that is going to give me a V in the middle of these bags. I wanted to do that because when I actually add in my photos and journaling, I don't want it to be super difficult to put stuff in or to get stuff out of those bags. I want it to be easy and fairly seamless. I'm going to show you a second one here just to reinforce the task or the way that I went ahead and cut those pieces, and then I will skip over the rest of it because it's all just super repetitive. So then once I've got my corners or my V right there, cut into all of those. Then I'm going to move on to my title card. I had stamped out one extra sentiment thinking I might add that to my title card, and then I will decide that I actually don't like it on there, so I'll take it back off. For this part, the nice thing about having them stamped and then fussy cut out is it's a lot easier to see where everything's going to end up. And then another trick that I have when I'm working on stuff like this is just to add like a tiny little bit of adhesive onto the back of whatever it is that you're working on and stick that down and get all of it stuck down before you fully adhere any of it. That way you can just pull it back up and move it if you need to. I had also printed out a couple of photos and some journaling for 2 of the bucket list items that we have technically already crossed off our list. So we did a nature hike over the weekend, and then we also, 2 weekends ago, went to my cousin's house for a pool party. So I wanted to print off some photos and print off some journaling that I can stick into the envelopes to show you what that's going to look like as we start to fill these all in. I did print off 2 photos for each one and then also 1 section of journaling. So that's what you can see there to the side in the 2 different piles. This is where I'm going to just add a tiny bit of adhesive onto the back of each of these letters, position them onto this 4x6 card here. And then once I have that done, I'm going to run the entire thing through my sewing machine. One of the things I really love about stitching on top of paper crafts like this is it helps to hold things down permanently, but it also gives a really awesome texture to the spread as well. So I'm just going to run a line directly through the middle of each of these words or line of words and then trim off the excess strings. I'm using white thread, so it's not as like in your face that there is stitching on there, but you can kind of see it if you look closely enough. The nice thing here is now everything is totally adhered down. I didn't have to pull back up all of those letters and fully adhere them on the back. I could just keep them lightly adhered down and then stick that through the sewing machine. So next we're going to work on these 12 little envelopes, and I'm going to leave a bunch of this in so you guys can see the different sentiments that I chose, and then also how I'm going to just lightly embellish them to bring a bit of fun into this spread. So this one right here says explore the great outdoors, and it's got this little scene of mountains and trees. So I have that on there, and I figured that that could just be, a day of going somewhere outside. It could be some kind of hike. It could be, going somewhere new that's outside, a new park, anything like that. Just something that's outdoors. I added a little puffy sticker on there, just a little asterisk, and then called that one good. And that's pretty much the formula I'm going to follow is stick on the sentiment. This one says by the coast, and I figured this would be a really good one for a beach day. And then adding one little puffy sticker. In that case, it was a blue arrow. Then this next one says go for a swim or going for a swim. And so this one I'm going to add, I actually don't remember what I add to this one. But again, it's just going to be some puffy stickers. All of these puffy stickers that you see here are older Feature Craft ones. Some of them are still available, and they are like shapes number 1, 2, and 3. Some of them are older. There's an older travel one. There's an older like day in the life type of one. I generally really love to use my Feature Craft puffy stickers when I'm working with Feature Craft products because all of the colors go together and it just looks really nice that way. Here's where you can see the photos and how that's going to look down in the pocket and how that V makes it easy to pull the stuff back out. So yes, that one was the pool one. This one says slow down, relax, that sort of thing. And it has flowers on it. So I thought that could be a really good something to do with flowers, like going to a garden, something that feels slower paced and is more about taking in the beauty of the outside. And then I also added some of those little flower puffy stickers on there because that just seemed pretty fitting. Also, I will mention that as I am adding on my puffy stickers, I'm trying to give myself some space on the edges. That way, when I later attach all of this down, which I'm going to attach all of these again with stitching on my sewing machine. So when I do that, I don't run the risk of ruining the puffy stickers or sewing through them or causing any like wonkiness as I'm stitching. The next one I said there was Let's Go Camping, which I also stamped the little tent above that and fussy cut that all out as one big stamp. And then I used a star just as my sticker there. This one right here is Enjoy the Ride, I think is what it says. So that is like a bicycle one. I'm adding Go See Do on here, and see, just trying to give myself enough space on the edges in order to do my stitching. I think I missed one, but maybe I didn't as I'm explaining here. It's okay. This one says Picnic Time, picnic time at the park or something like that. And this is something that we do a lot in the summer, is pack up a picnic and go to our downtown park and then just sit on the grass and eat together. So I thought that that would be a really good reminder to make sure we take advantage of the summer, take advantage of living close to downtown for the time being, and go and have a picnic one of the days. I'm adding 3 of these triangle puffy stickers so that it looks almost like an arrow. It's just taking me a few tries to make sure and get everything evenly spaced and also in a line where nothing is pointing too far up or too far down. And then that one is done. Moving on, this next one is, what does it say? Something by the sea. Happy to be by the sea. So again, this could be another beach day. This could be going to the ocean. We are actually going down to Mexico, but not until the fall. But that's okay. I could also just fill this in the fall, like who cares? But we're going down to Mexico for my sister's wedding. So we're going to be by the sea, and that could be a really fun thing to add into that pocket. This one says Scenic View. So I thought this could be a really fun pocket to do, maybe like a road trip or some kind of just going for a ride and taking in the sights. So there's that one. I'm adding a couple of those plus sign puffy stickers and calling that one done. Next, I have this, I think it says Explore Outdoors. And there were some like binoculars and a compass. Outdoor exploring, that's what it says. So that one, again, could just be a day outside with the kids, maybe a different walk than we normally go on. Who knows? There's all different kinds of things. I feel like as the summer goes on, I will find a way to fill these all in. The next one here says Lake Day, and or Lake Life is what it says, and it's got like a canoe with paddles. And we do typically go on the lake at least once a year, so that will definitely get filled with maybe a boat ride or just going and swimming at the lake, or we have kayaks, so we could take some pictures on a kayaking day and put that in there. And then once I have that done, I debated using this large star, but the scale is just wrong. So I'm going to add that back on the sheet and pick a different puffy sticker instead. But once I have this one done, all of these little pockets are embellished and ready to go. So then I'm going to pull back over my full page, and we're going to start getting everything arranged onto the pattern paper. So for this, I am going to use that same trick as before. I'm going to only add a tiny bit of adhesive. And since I don't want to see the adhesive through these vellum-ish pockets, I am just going to add the adhesive where the sticker is on the front. So if you flip it over, you can see the back of the sticker, and that's where I'm going to add my adhesive. That way, when it's down on the paper, you won't see it at all. So then I'm grabbing my ruler and using my cutting mat here, trying to keep everything as straight and as evenly spaced as possible. I'm going to work from the bottom to the top. So then I put my ruler there on the kind of where I want the top of these bottom pockets to rest. And then I start in the middle. So I added the middle one and then the 2 outer edge ones. And then I will do the pockets that go in between. Then once I have this bottom row done, then I'm going to move on to the middle row, go ahead and get my summer bucket list title on here, which again, I'm only adding a tiny bit of adhesive into the middle of that pocket or of that card, I should say, because my intention is to stitch everything onto this page, including my title. One of the things I am considering, and I actually will do it for this spread, is to stitch around the white card there with a colored thread. And since I'm using yellow and orange on this spread, I thought it would be fun to pull out my orange thread and go ahead and stitch around the rectangle with that. It'll help to bring in a little bit more color and then to also highlight the orange outline on all of those letters, but we'll see that here in just a second. So then I'm just going to use those bottom pockets to help me place where the middle ones are going to go, and then we'll move on to the top pockets and get those adhered down as well. Originally I had like a certain, a certain pattern to how all of these sentiments ended up on the page. But then after I embellished all of them, I decided I didn't really care the order. So they're just going wherever they go. I just kind of laid them out and called that a day. So we're going to get all the rest of these stuck down, and then I'm going to grab over my sewing machine, and I'm starting with white. So what I'm going to do is stitch around 3 sides of the pocket, so leaving the open side of the pocket without stitching. It didn't really need it, and plus if I had stitched on the top, it would have been much harder to pull open the pocket there, because there would have been, just a little bit of the corners would likely have been stitched down. So I'm just going to go on the 2 long sides and along the bottom, and I'm trying to stay as close to the edge as possible because I want to be able to add my photos and my journaling as large as I possibly can. I did, when I printed my photos and my journaling, I did try to keep in mind that there would be some stitching. So I printed those slightly thinner and shorter than the pockets themselves. That way they'll go down nicely inside. So I have all of my pockets stitched on there, and so the last thing I'm going to do is stitch on this title piece, which I'm using that orange thread you can see there at the top of my machine, and just going around one time. I could have gone around more times than one just to make things even more substantial, but I like the thin little bit of orange thread there, so it's not really that big of a deal. So we'll pull that off of here, trim off all of my threads, put my sewing machine away, and then we'll go ahead and add some date stamping to the bottom of these 2 journal pieces, which you can see there, which I will do for all of them from here on out. And then I will stick those down into the pockets so you can see what it's going to look like as these start to fill up. So I really, really love the way that this one looks now that it's all completed here. All right, friends, that completes my spread for today. So this one was a little bit labor intensive, but man, do I really, really love the way that this turned out. Like, this is so super cool. So what I'm going to do moving forward into our summer this year is I am going to, as we check off, so to say, our bucket list, I am going to be printing 2 photos plus 1 little strip of journaling. And these I printed off at 1.5 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. So I've got a couple of pictures from a day that we went to my cousin's house and swam in their pool, and then a little bit of journaling about what we did there. And then those photos and the journaling just slip down inside of these pockets. So then I've got another one over here for a nature walk, one of Aaron and Jonah walking in the forest, and then a little bit of journaling to give context to the photos themselves. So I think that this will be really fun to fill up with all different photos and stories. And then I will put this inside of my 12 by 12 story album. And that's just where it will sit. For now, I'm going to hang this up in my craft space. I have a line with clips that I can hang spreads on, and that way I can go ahead and see the reminder to fill these pockets up before I put it away in its actual album. And because this is an interactive 12 by 12 page, what I will do when I actually put it in the album is I will create a plastic strip, a clear acetate plastic strip that I will hole punch and adhere to the back of my spread, and then it will sit outside of a page protector inside of my album. So hopefully that helps you guys to see what I'm going to do with this spread now that it's done. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this one come together, and if you did, I would love a thumbs up down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see all of my future crafty projects as well, including some more using the stamp sets from Feed Your Craft this month. And as always, I've got all of my supplies that I used for this layout in the description down below, so make sure to check that out if you're looking for anything that I used here. All right, friends, so until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, friends.